you are a 4x5 film photographer. That's not really common anymore. How did you get into that, and how did you stick with it for so long?
Well, I went to after 20 years of like not being in college, I decided to go back and do my master's when I was in London. And before I used to shoot this cross color work, which was shot on a 35 millimeter film camera. And so even when digital came out, I just kept shooting with my film camera. So then when I went to college for my master's, I decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to change my whole style. And so, to be honest with you, it was just kind of like by trial and error. I knew what I wanted to talk about, which has something to do with race and color. And I just kept shooting, like I had a Hasselblad, just all different formats, different people, different backgrounds. So I didn't really know what I wanted. And finally, when I got the shot, which is actually that one there, Dean, I knew that's like my cornerstone shot. I knew that that would be the camera I was going to be using and the film I was going to be
It just
using
sort of
and the
felt
background.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, I mean, I had had a camera, a 4x5 camera, like all my life through college. My dad got me one for my 4x5 class, and so I always had it, hanging about, and I was always sort of shooting back in those days with the Polaroid film, which was really fun to use.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you were working with the 4x5 when you met Lise, or what medium and what was sort of the subject matter you were photographing when you and Lise met?
Yeah, for sure. By that time, when I met Lise, it would have been a couple years that I moved back to America. So yeah, once I started shooting portraits again with my 4x5, I'm going to always shoot with that camera.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys in the shops, like Adorama and such, they're like, "Hey Lola, you hear something called digital? Something called digital is really great." I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" It's like I'm not convinced that a digital image can be as well. I guess I think that the grain of the film, renders people's faces better than a digital image.
Almost like it's revealing a completely different layer.
Well, yeah, I mean, like a digital. I mean, boring for those who aren't a photographer, but digital images are made with these square pixels as opposed to film, which is made with circular grains.
Crystals.
So that's why I think that it renders a more true image. Digital is always trying to correct. If it's dark, it tries to make it light. Even if you're on manual, I find that it seems to try and help you, even though you don't want help.
Yeah.
So, and I think also with the use of digital cameras all the time, people are always doing these selfies all the time. Which I'm guilty of, I have to say. But at the end of the day, my work is about pride and power. And so when people are in front of that big camera, it's like they kind of like strike a pose that's more, I suppose, more like a stronger, prouder image as opposed to just like a snapshot.
Yeah, like stoic in a
Yeah.
sense. Because I feel like when I do look at your images, your subjects are both like comfortable, but they're present and they're powerful in their images. And do you think, like, what is the first thing you do when you set up a portrait sort of session with your subjects? Like, how do you almost relax them and get them into?
Well, it depends. I mean, like for the ladies, for the Salt series, I ask them where they like to sit, where they usually sit at their home, when they don't have company. So I'm trying to find a familiar spot. Or some places I walk into and I'm just kind of like, that's the background.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very, it's like some kind of secretive thing that happens. The moment before I press the shutter and I get the image that I'm looking for. Um, I don't know, maybe my teacher skills. I think that kind of probably helps with me being able to relate to someone really quickly because I'm only sort of in there for 2 hours and out. I'm in, set up, shoot, then I'm out. You know what I mean?
And you have to capture that person within those 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I know that in Lisa's collection, she has some of your portraiture work. Do you remember the first piece that Lise bought from you?
I cannot remember.
No.
I mean, I'm feeling like it was from my Surpassing series because um, it was at Art Off the Mains, which I mentioned to you is was the African and Caribbean art fair that happened for a while. It was at the Puck Building. That's where I met Lise. And I believe that I was there. No, I know I was there with Infoco. So yes, I was at Art Domains with Infoco, and I believe that it was the surpassing work because uh, they were showing that work a lot. It was in the magazine and Wavelose, and so I'm thinking that it would have been something from there.
And that's how you met. So did you? The first time you met her was also the first time she bought a piece of work from you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it didn't happen right away, but I feel like we exchanged numbers and email addresses and such like that, and
kept in touch.
We kept in touch, and it finally happened. I can't remember, but I mean, like it was like over 10 years ago.
So this has been a very long sort of like art collector relationship. Do you think it's sort of differed from like any other relationship you've had in the art world?
I mean, with Lise, I don't even think I even realized when she first bought my piece that she was a collector.
Really?
She doesn't come off as like
No.
I'm a collector and you need me type of thing. So so we just kind of started having this friendship that I feel is like an everlasting friendship. You know what I mean? So she's always, she's as we've gotten to know each other. I'll ask her for advice, and Lise, she doesn't, she'll
help
tell
you out.
If it's light blue and you say it's medium blue, she's gonna tell you it's light blue. You know what I mean? So, so she's a really good person to sort of throw ideas at, and we are adults, so I don't have to agree with her, but I know I will get a strong, real opinion from her, and then I can either take it or not take it, and there's never any kind of like worry that she's going to be mad at me or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, she sort of like almost lets you just be you. She doesn't want you to be anything different. She's not trying to mold you, which I think is so great because her and I have talked about the idea that the art world can be somewhat intimidating. Like going to galleries or museums can be almost daunting. Do you feel that with her, like there's just not even like a hint of that with her because she wants to support you instead of anything else?
Yeah, totally. She's, I don't really have, as the years have gone on, as this year has gone on, 2019, thanks to Pen and Brush, my life has totally changed. I never really had a relationship with the art world.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I had an anti-relationship with the art world, feeling very invisible and unrecognized, and so I don't. I have some other people that have collected my work, but it's more than collector artist relationship that I have. It's like sort of sister, mother, some type of family member that I can always count on. Yeah, she's just I mean, like I go over to her house, like if I go for lunch or dinner or whatever, I always like bring my swimsuit. I know that she doesn't care, so she's like, "Sure, go for a swim, and then we'll hang out." You know what I mean? It's like, so it's like that's what you would do with a family member. You know what I mean? You wouldn't really sort of like, I mean, unless it's a really close friend. But I just always like know that she's, she wants me to be happy, and she's so supportive of me,
And she stays updated not only like your personal life, but like in your art world life. It's just sort of knowing that the artist is more than just something you buy like an image from or a piece of painting. Like they're an entire person, they're a human being, which is not always common in the art world, which is very refreshing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think she does. She has a very holistic approach about us, and she chooses what she likes, not what the galleries say or she's supposed to buy. And I love her for that because there's so many artists who, I mean, she has the capital to do that, but she'd rather invest in artists who she really believes in, and I think that's a really rare trait for people. You know.
So that just actually brings up another question for me. So she chooses her artist because it's not of any like background or anything, because she likes the work. It speaks to her, this kutika, the strike of the heart. Do you sort of do that in your practice when you find your subjects or your subject matter? Like, how do you go about choosing your subject matter?
Um, a lot of my subjects are my friends or my friends like grandmothers or great grandmothers. Or people will just say all throughout my career, my friends have been really helpful in like saying, oh, I saw this background or this wall that was really good for your shoot, or I know someone that will be good for this series, or people, my friends are always sort of like looking out for me. So a lot of them are people I know, and now with like social media, like Utah, I photographed Utah after meeting them. I think really quickly, actually, at Stonewall we met, and they were on a date, and I think I was just with a friend, but we had kind of seen each other online, so we were like, hey, you know how you kind of feel like you know someone when you've seen them online, and so I was like, okay, so whenever you come to New York, you got to come by, stay here, and I want to photograph you for my series tomorrow. So, I think that if I go away if I travel a lot, I'll often put something on like my Facebook page or my Instagram, and says this is what I'm looking for. I'm coming to your city. This is what I'm looking for. Can you, if you'd like to model for me, please DM me or something like that. So.
Just like continually building your network and then almost growing like your own community, which I love. Well, I really hope that you continue and share all of your stuff with the world. Thank you so much for having us.